This, my friend, is a pint. It comes in pints. I'm getting one.
Chapter 3. They Come in Pints.
This is spoiler.
Welcome to Spoilers. I'm Mikey, and I'll be your host tonight for part 3 of our Spoilers Fellowship of the Ring breakdown. It's a bit of a new thing we're trying out this month for a couple of shows, just because we appreciate this movie so much. We wanted to give it a little bit of extra love and care. So we got a new crew tonight for part 3 here.
Hey.
Since the Hobbit boys don't stop eating during this portion of the movie, what is your favorite meal of the day? And we'll start with who hosted part 2? That was Stevie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, who's part 1? Josh, you want to start off?
Yeah, and maybe, Pappy, we can give a quick shout-out to Stevie. I'm not sure why he had to miss tonight.
He died. He's dead.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
R.I.P. R.I. Steve.
All right, then keep your secrets.
My favorite meal of the day is probably... Oh, I like 11sies, but maybe just like a little bit early on 11sies. Like a 10:30-ish sort of breakfast brunch thing.
10:30 Z's. Pappy?
Yep. This is Pappy, recording from Louisville, Colorado. I'm also a big lunch guy. I'm usually not up early enough to eat breakfast or second breakfast, and I'm pretty hungry by the time lunch rolls around. So I go with lunch.
Brett?
I'm going to have to go with dinner. I think dinner's usually the best.
Wait, Brett, that's one answer. What about your second answer?
I also like supper.
Yeah, I fucking hate that word. Supper is just...
Okay, there is a difference, right?
They use that in the UK, I think, right?
Supper is for old people.
Supper.
Dinner is for hip young people. Supper is for old people.
This is Corey recording out of Simi Valley, California, also known as Kylo Ren memes. This is a very strange question, Mikey. I mean, lunch. I don't know. What meal do I like the most? Like, what does that mean? What is this?
Dude, they don't stop eating in this. I have 50 minutes, and they're eating for 25 minutes of my portion of the movie. I had to ask about food.
Okay, I'm just gonna say second breakfast because second breakfast. Yeah. All right, who else we got?
Mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah, new guy. He's not a new guy. He's just on for this episode.
Hey.
You've seen him before. You've heard his voice before. Jordan, what's going on?
Hey, man. This is Jordan from Durham, North Carolina. I would say the old 2:30 lunch, like an early supper, I guess. It's the best one.
There's that word.
God.
Like an afternoon tea.
All right, that was a wrong answer. My name is Mikey, and I prefer breakfast. I think it's the most important meal of the day.
You guys are wild.
But yeah, we just got to do a quick recap here from where Stevie left off. Don't want to start any trouble, but we didn't have any timestamps last week, so there's a bit of overlap.
Timestamp.
It's like timestamps back on the menu, boys.
Look, for the listeners, the timestamps for this whole Lord of the Rings thing is a big point of contention among the group thread.
Why is it a point of contention?
Why do you think Stevie's not here tonight?
I asked Josh about timestamps, and he's like, I really don't want to answer any more questions about timestamps.
What? Why are you guys so opposed to timestamps? I don't understand.
I did it. I just was asking a question.
I asked about them. I was the one that prompted the question about timestamps in the first place.
I wrote the outline. I
approve
just
of them.
felt like it was up to the imagination where these segments left on and off, and you guys made it so scientific. It was pissing me off.
Josh, we're not trying to usurp your authority by putting timestamps. You did great. It's a good outline, but
You're still Sauron. We're still your humble servants.
I'm just saying, because there was no timestamps, I'm just going to do a quick recap of what Stevie crossed over into my portion, and we'll just speed through that real quick. I think Stevie left off while Sam and Frodo are cooking up some spicy boys in the forest, and they see some wood elves.
spicy boys.
Right after that, we get Gandalf writing to Isengard to warn Saruman, where he finds out that Sauron is gaining power, and Saruman has already kind of aligned himself with Sauron, and they end up fighting each other.
Which, as a kid, isn't that the most confusing thing? Sauron and Saruman? Like,
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I didn't see it as a kid.
you weren't allowed or what?
No, because like we were older, Josh. Because I'm your
Older.
age.
Significantly.
Oh,
older.
man, I feel like teenagers are kids, but like, okay, as an adult, it's kind of confusing. Sauron versus Saruman, and it's almost like J. Tolkien, like, picked these names at random, and even though they were so close, he just, like, stuck with it anyway.
Yeah, because, like, without any context, you're like, oh, is that his dad or something? Like, what?
I'm Sauron. This is my boy, Saruman.
So Gandalf kind of gets his shit rocked here in the Tower of Isengard. Josh, you want to kind of explain what happens to him and where he ends up after that fight?
Yeah, Gandalf the Grey is going to see Saruman the White to get his counsel because, like, all this stuff is going down on Middle Earth. I think he just found out what this ring is all about.
The hour is later than you think.
Sauron's forces are already moving.
And Saruman is like, it's too late. Like, this is a foregone conclusion. I'm joining Sauron's side. And I thought it was interesting. Instead of saying, like, that's an evil plan, Gandalf says something more along the lines of, only one person can have power, and he won't share the power. So it's not even, like, about good or evil at that point. He's, like, leveling with him and saying, like, you may think that's the wiser way, but even if you win, you're going to lose, sort of thing. And he's right, I feel like.
Yeah, his logic is definitely flawed in that.
Mm-hmm.
And real quick on the wizard fight, did anyone pick up on like the squeaky like basketball court like sounds?
Yep. Oh yeah. Every time.
Some fresh sneaks.
Yeah, Gandalf got some new Nikes that he's trying out. There's a quick scene, not even a scene, just like a quick little vignette of where Gandalf puts his hand on this orb and he sees like the Eye of Sauron. Meanwhile, at the same time, Sam and Frodo are just walking through a farm, a farmer's field, and they happen to run into Merry and Pippin. And they're being chased by the farmer because Merry and Pippin are stealing all of his vegetables. It's kind of trapped in the tower and then attacked.
Farmer Maggot.
Is that what he said? I was wondering if that's what he actually said.
It's his name in the book too, Farmer Maggot.
But after that, they kind of take a tumble down a hill. And Brett, what does Frodo get a sketchy feeling about in the middle of the road?
Just to get off the road. I don't know what he felt or heard or whatever, but they're all just blabbing about mushrooms and carrots and taters and boiling them and mashing them and stick them in a stew. And then they all just jump off the road just because Frodo's got a hunch.
That was just a detour. A shortcut. A shortcut to what?
The mushrooms.
I think we should get off the road. Get off the road! Quick!
That's a great disturbance in the forest.
For sure.
There's a classic camera move. It's called a contra zoom, and it's when you see down the lane, and the way it works is you're moving a camera forward while zooming out, so it gives that really distorted look, and it's the way the Nazgûl are coming, I think.
I remember that from Mrs. Pyle's class.
And every time I've walked through a path with trees like that, I think of this shot, and that camera zoom goes off in my mind.
Nice.
Yeah, it's I would say it's pretty iconic. I think that's kind of one of the first times I've ever seen anything like that, and it's pretty commonly used now. It's a pretty cool effect that
That's not like the jaw. That's not like the jaw shot, is it?
Where you zoom out and push in or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
it
that's
is like
called,
that.
But yeah.
So here we're kind of like, this is kind of our first encounter with the ring wraith. After Frodo warns them to get off the road, they hide underneath this tree. We hear a terrible noise from either the horse or the ring wraith. I think it's an absolutely terrifying noise. I think it's really scary, and I think it's like perfect for this type of kind of haunting figure. And it's like the first time we see a ring wraith. Jordan, what does a ring wraith look like?
Like a hooded death figure, I guess. With that real
it looks
creepy
like
noise following them.
Kind of like a gothic Grim Reaper type looking character. He's got armor. He's got a scary horse.
Yeah.
He's probably supernatural.
It's interesting when
really...
he like squeezes that like root of the tree, like bugs and shit start crawling out. Like everything is like repulsed by it, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that shot too on Hunt for the Wilder People, where the Child Protective Services is leaning over while Ricky Baker and his uncle hide, just like that. It's become like a piece of pop culture.
Brett, what do you think about that spider?
I before it came up, I told Brittany it was coming up, and I said I've been pretty like numb to it, and then I saw it and it caught me off guard, and I didn't love it, but it's not like the worst thing ever.
So a quick question for you as a total aside. If there's a spider in your place, who handles it? Brittany?
Absolutely, 100% of the time.
All right, just wanted to know. Thank you.
I do bugs though. I do other insects. She cannot stand like June bugs or moths.
Greater than or less than 8 legs, and it's a go for Brett.
100%, yep.
Arachnid duty.
For every moment we talk about June bugs, it's another character in the Silmarillion we're not going to get to. Let's go.
Is this Frodo's first O-face of this entire series?
Underneath the tree?
Yeah.
This is like his first. This is his like first real encounter with like the power of the ring, like of like him being like totally overcome. Not totally overcome because he doesn't put on the ring, but he can feel something about this ring. So
close.
One of the things I like about this early movie compared to the later ones is Frodo, because we get to see like the true Frodo. And, you know, he starts to kind of degrade through the movies and get, like, taken over and overwhelmed by the ring. And I like this iteration of Happy Frodo.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood's eyes are just so bright and happy and cheery.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's, like, half dead at the end of this trilogy. Pippin tosses a bag or whatever and throws off the ring wraith. And then they gotta take off for this ferry to get to the inn. It's kind of like their only shot to escape. Frodo barely makes it onto the ferry. They end up making their way to the town where they're supposed to meet Gandalf at this inn, but they later find out that he's not there. Frodo has a really, I think it's a great line here, where he says to the guy at the gate of the town, he's like, "We wish to stay at the inn. Our business is our own."
What do you want? I'm heading to the Prancing Pony. Hobbits? More hobbits? What's more, out of the Shire, by your talk, my business brings you to Bree. We wish to stay at the inn. Our business is our own.
Which is like a really nice way to say like, fuck off, dude, just let us in.
The guy takes it pretty well, too. Like,
yeah, it's kind of
that
funny.
dialogue,
Yeah.
and a lot of the dialogue is straight from the book. And I think one of the strongest things about the book is the dialogue.
Well, yeah, for sure.
I love that, too. The guy's like, it's fine. Come in here and smoke your hobbit weed. No one's going to tell on you.
You got that old Toby?
So when they get to the inn, the boys are getting lit by the fireplace. Pap, who is kind of creeping on them in the corner in this inn, and what's his business? What does he want with them?
Well, at this point, we know him as Strider, but it's our boy with the penis, Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortenstein?
Viggo Morgenstern. But
Viggo Morgenstein. First of all, it's not his name.
And speaking of like first times we saw this, I remember being like really confused on his name Strider versus Aragorn. I don't know like when we hear his his real name. I think it's later on, but yeah, he's watching everything goes down, and I think it's like probably one of the most iconic and parodied shots, Mikey, when the ring like flies up in the air and like
Oh yeah.
Frodo catches it on his finger, which is one of the most impossible things to do. And I've
It's a
tried.
1 in a million shot,
Magic
Doc.
ring. It's a magic ring.
Yeah, that's the ring's will, you guys. It's not like just pure luck.
No, I'm not criticizing. It's awesome. Like I said, it's iconic, and like I think it was parodied so many times in the early 2000s. It had a huge impact.
Mm-hmm. That's how you know it's a classic. I mean, it was pretty iconic, and it's like in the trailer. I think it's very important to the whole trilogy. But yeah, Frodo, when that ring falls on his finger, he disappears, and everybody is like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And he kind of just makes his way to the other side of the room where he takes off the ring. But while he's in like the void or whatever of the ring, does he end up seeing ring wraiths like hunting him down, or just hearing them or something? He kind of sets off a warning to the ring wraiths, and they end up kind of narrowing down on his location a little bit.
Yeah, so what is happening here? Does he like light up on a different plane of existence here when he puts on the ring? Does anyone have any insight to how that works?
I mean, I think that's what they're trying to tell us visually, at least, because everything looks different. It's all windy on him. The color tone is different. I think that's pretty close to it, Josh.
I've always pictured it like one of those old Command and Conquer games, like Age of Empires or something, where the fog of war is on, and when he puts on the ring, like his little character icon lights up, and you can kind of see in the immediate vicinity or something. Like
Age
that.
of Empires.
So when Frodo takes off the ring, he's confronted by Strider, who kind of throws him into a separate room and warns him about the power of that ring and if he has any idea what he's holding. And Josh, do you? I want to go to Jordan, but I don't know if he remembers. Josh, do you remember what Strider says to the boys here?
I'll take this, Jordan, because this is one of my least favorite parts of the movie.
Why?
Because Aragorn is such a nice guy. It's so weird that his first line is, "Are you frightened?"
Why? Are you frightened? Yes. Not nearly frightened enough. I know what haunts you.
It just comes off so weird. Like, dude, introduce yourself. What are you doing right now?
Yeah, he's definitely like putting on a voice too. He's like,
"You will be."
That is basically the line, though. It's very Yoda-ish. And, you know, Frodo has basically been begging for someone to help him carry this ring and find his way. So he's pretty trusting of Strider right off the bat when maybe he shouldn't have been, but luckily it's the King of Men, and he's all gold inside.
Can you imagine how different this movie would be if it was Boromir waiting for him with the prancing pony? He would have just like slit his throat and taken the ring. And we'd have,
"Oh, come on.
It is a gift.
It is a gift."
Yeah, Strider gives him such a terrifying kind of like warning about the power of the ring. He, I don't know if he even makes it clear that he's not a bad guy, that he kind of wants to help Frodo get to Rivendell or whatever, but Frodo has no other choice but to accept his help because he's kind of desperate at this point, and the ring wraiths are right on their tail. The ring wraiths end up tricking the ring wraiths. They stab a bunch of very small child-sized beds, feathers, and
So
pillows.
Dude, when they creep into the room, it's really cool, though.
Man, they fell for that shit.
Yeah.
The music's cool.
It was one of the scariest shots, like the first time I saw it. But
Yeah.
on this rewatch, I think it's a little cheap that like as the Nazgûl stab the pillow, we get a shot of Sam's eyes opening wide, like he's the one being stabbed. Like it's a little bit of an unfair
But
misdirection.
he could have, if they were like next door, they could have heard it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think they're across the street and looking at them right through the window, which is like...
Which I always wondered, like, okay, they're safe right across the street? Like, they're pretty close.
Okay, that part is pretty weak, but a shot right prior to that where they're walking through and the innkeeper is like on his knees crying like a little baby is so cool.
the guy at the gate, he's dead, right?
Oh, so dead.
God.
Okay, that's why I always say he's dead, but I just want to like confirm. I mean, that's like 15,000 pounds that's just going on him. So
those ring rays, man, they don't give a
that's
fuck.
at least like 10 dire wolves.
Well,
At
depends
least.
if Josh is weighing those wolves.
In an earlier part, they're like just riding through, I think, on the outskirts of the Shire, and some hobbit is like out there with a lantern, like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they just like slice him. Like they don't even need to kill him; they could just keep going by him.
They're dicks.
So the Ringwraiths end up not finding the hobbits, and so Strider and the boys make an escape, and they kind of just end up on foot. They're kind of just walking the countryside. Brett, do you know where they're headed and what their intentions are of getting to where they're headed?
Yeah, they're headed to Rivendell. That's where Gandalf told them to go, and but yeah, now they head to, I think it's Weathertop, just to get some higher ground. You know, they have to have the high ground. Everyone knows that.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think they're just kind of trying to find a spot to lay low. Aragorn wants to drop him off, and then he wants to go looking around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're ultimately trying to make it to Rivendell.
Yeah, they're just finding a place to camp for the night. The next morning, Pippin has a funny line about all the different meals. He asks, "What about breakfast and second breakfast and 11sies and all that stuff?"
That's way later, isn't it?
No.
No?
I mean, yeah, but yeah, that's like the very next scene. During this part, we get a scene of Saruman receiving orders from Sauron to build an orc army. Pap, what are like the early steps of creating a massive orc army? What do they do with all these trees, and what's the production procedure here for mining orcs?
Well, there's a hilarious little shot right after he gets those instructions of like the 3 orcs like shuffling in to the room. That cracks me up every time. It's really quick, but like watch for it. But I think so. They're Uruk-hai that he's producing, and it's like a goblin orc mixture, I believe. And the advantage is they're able to like march during the daytime. They seem to be like more ripped and a little bit more intelligent than your average average orc. But
+5 strength.
So,
Pappy, orcs and goblins in this thing, they're the same thing. It just depends on who calls them what.
but I thought that they specifically say that it's like a half goblin, half orc mixture. We can save it
That's
for...
what Brittany thought she said too.
I'm 100% sure that they say that in this movie. I don't know if it aligns with what Tolkien wrote, but that's what's offered here.
Movie canon?
They're supposed to have human in them.
half orc, half human, and then
The line is they've combined orcs with goblin men. So I assume it's like
There we
half
go.
goblin, half men, and half orc.
Bear pig?
Man, bear pig.
it's half man, half bear pig. I heard he's half man, half pig, half bear.
I think Pappy hit on the key detail, though. A huge downfall of the orcs in their pursuit of things is that they could only travel at night. So this new Uruk-hai mixture could just travel 24 hours a day.
Mm. And the kind of a character difference, too. Like, the Uruk-hai are very serious and always treated very seriously, where like the orcs are kind of
jokey and
more
kind of a
bumbling and
laughingstock.
jokey, meets back on the menu boys type stuff.
Dude, he
So-
chokes one out.
Get some mates.
Right when he's born, he chokes one out, and Saruman's like, "No, it's cool. We can lose one."
Yeah.
One line
them
in this
fight.
section that always stuck out to me is when they're like chopping wood, and one of them goes, he says, "The trees are strong, my lord. Their roots go deep."
The trees are strong, my lord. Their roots go deep.
I don't know why. It's just like always been like a meme for me before memes.
The roots go deep.
Their roots go deep.
Yeah, so that's just like a little quick scene of what Saruman is up to. Meanwhile, like Brett said, we find the boys sleeping in this watchtower for the night. And Merry and Pippin and Sam are cooking up some more spicy boys, and they end up giving away their position to the Ringwraiths, where they're like surrounded immediately. Brett, do you want to walk us through Frodo getting stabbed here?
Yeah, sure. I tried to watch this time like try to do like a critic lens, and I was like so geeked up after the scene. The scene blew me away. Like, I've always liked it, but they're on top of Weathertop, and the hobbits are gonna hobbit. You know, they know they're being hunted by unstoppable killers, but they're up there cooking sausages and bacon and tomatoes.
So infuriating.
Yeah, they're just so oblivious. Even Sam. Put it out. Even Sam's part of it. It's crazy.
Want a tomato, Sam? What are you doing? Tomatoes, sausages, nice crispy bacon. We saved some for you, Mr. Frodo. Put it out, you fools! Put it out! That's nice.
You know the boys stay strapped with bacon 24/7.
Shout out to Frodo's Hobbit feet. You can just stomp on a campfire and be totally fine.
Yeah, they're like all leathery and hard and stuff. But I don't know if you guys watched it like this, but the music when the Nazgûl come up, the ring wraiths come up, it's just so awesome, and how they creep up really slowly on them. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like they come out of the ground, but they're really just like coming out of shadows and like surrounding them.
They float too when they walk. They seem totally otherworldly.
I just remember thinking how cool it is with it's dark. They're just creeping up. They walk like in step. I mean, they float in step, I guess you could say.
Could I ask Corey a question in here, just based on that? On your other movie podcast, you guys talk about the Terminator and like why he doesn't just like kill people right away, kind of sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where do you think like the ring wraiths fall on that? Because they're not necessarily giving a monologue, but they don't just go up and start chopping heads either.
Yeah, it's that, movie tension stuff. They can't just kill him, but I mean, they should, right? I mean, they just recklessly kill people all the time, but they're pretty slow approaching when it comes to Frodo. I think when Frodo puts on the ring, it like surprises or distracts them somehow.
They can actually see Frodo clearly. They're like, oh, that's what you look like. I just saw like a shape before. But like to your point, Brett, like that's always kind of bothered me because they kind of like gingerly dismiss the other hobbits. Like Sam kind of just gets tossed aside, and Merry and Pippin like form a wall, and it's almost like comedic. Like the ring wraiths like separate them, like blah, one to each side. Like,
Red Rover.
So you think they should? You think they would have just like sliced
they
them up
just
or what?
cut their heads off. Yeah, like one big swoop of the swords, and it's over.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe they just probably just think of them as just being insignificant. So.
But that random hobbit out in the country, super significant.
Fuck that guy.
Just so significantly weak to them, like they're not even bothered by trying to kill the hobbits.
It's just their quest isn't what they're trying to get is in front of them. I don't think they care about anything else.
Yeah, but they do seem like kind of almost like entranced when Frodo puts the ring on. It's kind of cool, and then we see the effect of what Frodo sees of the ring wraiths when he does put on the ring, which I think still looks really, really cool. These guys look like ghosts or something, and like the CGI is pretty heavy during these parts where he's like in this void of the ring, but I think it looks awesome.
I think it looks really
These
cool
guys
still.
are terrifying. Yeah. And then he ends up getting stabbed by this special ring wraith blade, which makes him incredibly sick, and then
big time O-face. Joe, do you want to talk about that?
I mean, this is number 2 O-face. It's pretty quick. I'm surprised you could recover that
Refractory
quickly.
period doesn't exist in Hobbit.
Oh my god.
Stout hobbits.
Well, then who
They
shows
do
up,
eat a
Jordan?
lot, it's fine.
Who shows up and saves him?
The elves.
No,
Wrong.
not yet.
Strida.
Corey, who shows up and saves him?
So Strider shows up at the last minute. He's got like a torch in one hand and a sword in the other hand. And we see for the first time like how badass this dude actually is. He's not just some like rando. This guy has some serious skills. these ring wraiths have been like built up and they're heavily feared and they basically seem unbeatable, but he can at least fend them off. Now, he doesn't actually stab any of them, which I think is noteworthy, but he kind of uses the torch, and they seem to have some kind of fire weakness or something. He tosses it in one of their faces. It's pretty cool. And during this whole bit, and actually not even during this bit, but like throughout my life, I've kind of always had this question, which I'm going to toss to Josh and Brett. Who would win in a sword fight? Aragorn or Mad Mardigan?
Mad Mardigan!
Mad Mardigan!
Definitely Aragorn.
Mad Mardigan is the greatest swordsman who ever lived.
Yeah, but he's not one of the Dunedain. But different, man. But Mad Mardigan's pretty good, though. Man, they hated Willow. Did you listen to the pod? They hated it.
Yeah.
Willow fucking sucks.
Willow's awesome.
Young Guns is cool, though.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a good question, though.
Willow was a treasure.
That's
and,
not where I thought you were going.
Was a
by the
huge
way.
inspiration for Lord of the Rings, is what I hear.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was J.R.R. Tolkien's favorite DVD.
No, that was back when VHSs were a thing.
Oh yeah, no, Laserdisc, something like that. Yeah, it was
Micro.
The extended edition was literally 20 VHS tapes, and you had to switch them out.
That pretty much wraps up my portion of this. After that, Strider makes it known that Frodo's pretty sick now after getting stabbed by this blade. They got to make their way. They got to make their way to Rivendell like immediately, or else he's not going to make it. So that's about where my portion ends.
I have a quick thing, actually. And you guys probably already know this being big Lord of the Rings fans, but I found it out recently, and I thought it was funny. So Aragorn, played by Viggo Mortensen, he was originally going to be played by Stuart Townsend, which I think is a strange casting choice. And Viggo was actually cast after they started already shooting for a little while. Just an interesting note I got.
Townsend, who's that?
You ever see Queen of the Damned?
With the Leo?
Yeah, he was the main vampire, Lestat.
Never heard of it.
Interesting choice.
I'm looking at him now. He doesn't look like my Strider. Hashtag not my Aragorn.
Not my king, my brother,
No.
my friend.
That wouldn't have been
I don't
good.
know if I've seen him in anything. I'm looking through his. The name sounds familiar.
Well, we would have all known him if he would have been in this movie.
For sure, 100%.
The only thing I had, and we're not gonna do yes or no's in each segment, but Mikey, I feel like you got a really fucking good segment. Like this is like,
Oh yeah.
peak Lord of the Rings, like the shot with the tunnel trees and Weathertop.
This is the portion I remember most.
And it comes in
is
pints, like so
one of
many
those
memes. Yeah, it's classic.
We didn't
So
even,
many meals.
yeah, we didn't even talk about the like wood elves that they just randomly see too. That's pretty cool.
What's going on there? Those guys are dead.
It's sad.
And they're just going to the afterlife.
They're leaving. Yeah, they're leaving Middle Earth. They're like they're getting out of Dodge because trouble's a brewing.
They're doing some elf shit a mere mortal like yourself wouldn't understand.
Oh, they're not
Mikey,
dead?
the elves have a different planet that they can go to that's not Middle Earth or something like that.
There's a lot of places outside of Middle Earth. I mean, that's where like the wizards came from in like the Third Age.
Lower Earth, Upper Earth.
Adjacent Earth.
Sorry, this is a really stupid question. Is Middle Earth the continent or the planet?
Middle Earth is a state of mind.
Okay,
I think it's more just like a dimension type.
interesting.
But yeah, like
You guys-
the elves are like untouchable where they go. So, like, Sauron couldn't come get them. I mean, just nothing could happen to them, and they live there forever.
Must be nice to have an escape plan, wood elves. Not gonna let anybody else in on that.
They do let people in on that.
Josh, you wanna do the trivia? Or we can toss the spoiler man?
Let's get into trivia then. Speaking of untouchable, Brett, Christopher Lee, who plays Saruman, who we're talking about, he's kind of a badass, and he played Count Dooku / Darth Tyrannus.
Yeah.
And I looked up how many midichlorians people thought
Oh my
Darth
god.
Tyrannus had on 3 different websites, and I found an average. So, I was going to let the ring bearer decide, but we'll go. Last time I went
Wait. Have we decided a punishment yet, Josh? What are the stakes before we move any further?
Everything's changed now that Stevie didn't show up. I feel like he should be just
the world
punished.
is changing.
Nothing has changed.
We're thinking there should be a
Them's
punishment.
baseball
A
rules.
punishment movie. The ring bearer picks for the Gollum.
Yeah,
You guys
I like it.
here? You guys think so?
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, so furthest geographically away from me, I believe, is Kylo Ren. And since you do have to go first, I was going to let you choose any other character in Star Wars, and I'll tell you how many midichlorians they have. So kind of get a starting point.
Okay. Yoda.
Terrible starting point.
Seems as if Yoda has 17,700
Okay.
midichlorians.
Huge props to Josh's research department for having all of the Star Wars characters' midichlorian estimates ready to go. That's impressive.
Corey,
I need to see the DNA
your
results.
guess.
For Dooku?
Dooku.
All right. Let's see. He says that he's stronger than Master Yoda at some point, so... Oh, maybe he's lying. Fuck.
what were Yoda's numbers here?
17.7K.
Dooku's easy got 20K. He's got so many midichlorians, he's like fucking exploding with them.
More than Yoda?
He's got more than Yoda.
Even more than Master Yoda?
I believe next would be Pappy.
I'll say 19,999 midichlorians.
Jordan. Brother Jordan.
13,069 midichlorians.
Nice.
Good guess.
13,069. Whatever. That's really annoying to write down. Brett?
Can I get how many Ki Adi Mundi has?
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? That guy?
What about Gonk Droid?
guy with the penis head.
Owen Lars has 1,500, just so you know. But
Wait, is that canon?
none of these are canon. Go ahead.
Am I going to be
Midichlorians are
able to
not
get my
canon.
answer? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, can I find out how many Ki
No.
Adi Mundi had before I make the...
Corey
No?
got
That was only available to Corey.
Oh, the guy who knows Star Wars better than everybody else. Okay.
Jeez, you got the same info he did. Like,
I'm going to go with...
And you're guessing last.
Wait, Mikey's still got to go.
Sorry.
I will take 17,699.
love the 69s in there. Mikey, you are last. Darth Tyrannus. How many midichlorians does he have?
I'm gonna use Darth Jar Jar as a baseline for what I'm about to guess. There's no way Dooku could be more than Yoda. Isn't Yoda like super powerful? Isn't he one of the best Jedis? I gotta say he's lower, so I'm gonna say Dooku is a broke bitch in midichlorians. He's only got 3,500.
He's got around Owen Lars.
He's got low T, low M.
Okay, this math is kind of hard. I think I got it. The actual retail price of midichlorians per Count Dooku Darth Tyrannus is 14,766.
Hey!
That
So,
lying
Jordan,
sack of shit.
Jordan, you got first place in the full 3 points. Brett, you got second place, 2 points.
Needed it.
Pappy,
Big time.
third place, 1 point.
Wow, this really evens things
Corey,
up.
0 points. And Mikey get negative a point. You just went too low. You just went too
Corey,
low.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
So is Yoda not
Simple no.
a very powerful guy? in
He's
Star Wars then?
17.7 and Dooku's 4,000 less than him.
Anakin's 20,000, right?
27,000.
Woo!
Man.
That's even more than Master Yoda.
Yep.
God damn.
I got Dooku's lightsaber tattooed on me too, so this is a extra sad moment for me.
It's like that's the one with the limp dick wrist, right?
Yeah, I like that one.
I guess I could have just said limp wrist. I don't know why.
Is there a minus points for this, Josh, or is that only with the ring bearer?
Only the ring bearer can do it, that, and sadly, like we said before, Stevie did not show tonight, so hopefully he's okay.
Hashtag prayers for Stevie.
GoFundMe up soon. Yeah, I think that wraps up part 3 of our Fellowship Spoilers breakdown. Spoiler man, why don't you take it away while we head to part 4?
Spoiler Man here. Now you can check us out on Spotify. YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Sorry about that. Something weird with the headphones. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Our Instagram is podcastspoilers. It's lit.
What business brings you to Bree? We wish to stay at the inn. Our business is our own.
All right, young sir, I meant no offense. It's my job to ask questions after nightfall. There's talk of strange folk